Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 2026 DOPs, our division outlook and predictions for the 2026 season. This is the first episode, and it is all about the AL East. Yes, that is right. That music means it's almost baseball time. And as of recording this, we are a month away before the 2026 season gets underway. It's very exciting times. I love this time of year. It means that baseball is just so close, and we're just gearing up for the anticipation of another baseball season. And it's so much fun to look over everything that happened during the offseason, look over all of the things that might happen in this season, what could go right, what could go wrong, talking about it all. And I'm glad that you guys are here talking it with me. Let me know your thoughts about anything that I'm saying in the comments down below. If you're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, or however you're listening to this podcast, I appreciate you. Do me a favor, follow the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, like the videos, like the episodes, comment whatever you want to comment. It means a ton to me, and I'm excited to dive right on in. So with all of that being said, let's get things started. Let's get it started, guys. Today is the AL East, as mentioned, and we are starting it off with your AL champion, Toronto Blue Jays. This is how we start a DOP. The Toronto Blue Jays finished 94 and 68 last year. They were first in the AL East, first in the AL as a whole. They were also first in batting average, first in on-base percentage. They were third in OPS, fourth in runs scored. They were 20th in starter ERA and 16th in relief ERA, but they had first in DRS, defensive runs saved, and as well as the first overall in defense in general. When you add all of that up together, of course, they won the division for the first time since 2015, 11 years ago, or 10 years ago, I should say. They were the first seed overall, as mentioned. They beat the Yankees 3-1 in the ALDS. Then they beat the Mariners in the ALCS in Game 7. It was a 4-3 final in the series. Springer's clutch home run brought them to their first World Series since 1993. And they made it all the way to Game 7 of the World Series. They were 2 outs away. It's a tragic, heartbreaking loss. They end up losing to the Dodgers 4-3 in the final in that series as well. Manager is going to be John Schneider. He enters his 4th full season as the Blue Jays manager. He finished second in voting last year for Manager of the Year when he should have won, because he took a Blue Jays team that was 5th in 2024, one of the worst teams in the AL, and they turned them into the best team in the AL and just 2 outs away from a World Series win. Who they lose? They lose a couple of notable guys here. Alek Manoah, remember his 2022 campaign, he's off. Sir Anthony Dominguez, who they picked up at the deadline last year, he is gone. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who they trade for as well, he's gone. Ty France is gone. Joey Loperfido was traded recently. He is now gone. They also lose Chris Bassett, been part of that rotation a couple years. The most notable name, though, of course, Bo Bichette. That is going to be the big name gone here from the Blue Jays. He is off to the great Citi Field in New York. Who they bring in, though, that 20th in starter ERA, they're going to try to fix that. They bring in Dylan Cease, one of the first moves of the offseason. They bring in Cody Ponce, Tyler Rogers, Kazumo Okamoto, Jesus Sanchez, and they also bring back Shane Bieber, who picks up his player option, as well as recently signing Max Scherzer as well. So the rotation looks to be a lock. Speaking of that rotation, according to Fangraphs, here is what they have it listed as. Kevin Gausman as the ace of that staff. Dylan Cease coming in the number 2 spot. Trey Yesavage, yes sir, he's number 3. Jose Barrios in the 4. And then they have Cody Ponce listed as the 5. That is what Fangraphs has it as. What their lineup is listed as is George Springer, the DH, bats first. Dalton Varsho out there in center, bats second. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the first baseman, batting third. Addison Barger in right field, bats fourth. Alejandro Kirk, the catcher, bats fifth. Jesus Sanchez in left field, batting sixth. Kazuma Okamoto, the third baseman, bats seventh, while Andres Jimenez, the shortstop, will bat eighth. Ernie Clement out there playing second base, batting ninth. This will definitely not be the lineup that gets brought out. They will change their lineup every other game, and if this was the lineup, Ernie Clement would be the best 9-hole hitter in all of baseball. He is on an absolute tear, coming off the most hits ever in postseason history with 31. The bench that the Blue Jays have Tyler Heineman, Davis Schneider, Nathan Lucas, and Miles Straw, the four guys on the bench there. The bullpen, notable names. Well, they're all notable because they all went to the World Series, so we know all of these guys very well. Jeff Hoffman, Tyler Rogers, who they picked up, Louis Varland, Brandon Little, Braden Fisher, Tommy Nance, Eric Lauer, and Mason Fluharty. Those are the guys in the bullpen listed by Fangraphs. On the IL, they have Jimmy Garcia, who is questionable for opening day. Max Scherzer, questionable for opening day. Shane Bieber is no timetable, so we're not sure exactly when he will be ready, but hopefully soon. Bowden Francis is out for the season with Tommy John surgery, and it was announced that Anthony Santander will be out 5 to 6 months. So that contract not looking very good thus far for the Blue Jays. He will find himself on the IL as well. And you take a look ahead into 2027, the free agents for the Blue Jays, they're big ones. George Springer, Kevin Gausman, two big notable names right there. Shane Bieber, Jimmy Garcia, Max Scherzer. How about Dalton Varsho as well as Eric Lauer? All of those guys are free agents, as well as Miles Straw, who has an $8 million club option that if the Jays decline, he would find himself in free agency as well. That is what the Toronto Blue Jays look like heading into 2026. Let's move on and talk about the New York Yankees, who also finished 94 and 68. They were tied with the Blue Jays, but they did not have the head-to-head tiebreaker, so that's why the Yankees finished second and the Jays finished in first. But speaking of first, the Yankees were first in OPS. They were first in runs. They were first in home runs. They were fourth in starter ERA and 23rd in relief ERA. They made the wild card round. They had a 7-game lead on the line there. They were the 1 seed or the 4 seed overall. They beat the Red Sox 2-1. They took it to Game 3. They won it in Game 3, won the wild card round, but then lost to the aforementioned Blue Jays 3-1 in the ALDS. The manager, once again, Aaron Boone, he is back for his 9th season as a New York Yankee. Who did they lose throughout the offseason? Well, they say goodbye to lots of their bullpen. Devin Williams is gone. Mark Leiter Jr. is gone. Luke Weaver is gone. Ian Hamilton is gone. Jonathan Loizaga, as well as DJ LeMahieu. Those are the notable losses there. Who do they add? Well, they only really add one guy. Ryan Weathers is the only new member of the New York Yankees. They did bring Randall Grichuk in a non-roster invitee role as well, who could join the team. But they did bring back a lot of guys who were free agents. They signed back Trent Grisham on the qualifying offer. They signed Cody Bellinger to a 5-year deal. They bring back Ahmed Rosario, Paul Blackburn, Ryan Yarbrough, and Paul Goldschmidt. So all guys who were free agents end up re-signing. So the Yankees are kind of just bringing it back for round 2, trying to win the division this time around. The rotation, as said by Fangraphs, Max Fried, the ace of the staff. Cam Schlittler is the number 2. Will Warren at 3. Ryan Weathers at 4. And then Luis Hill listed as the 5 guy for now. The lineup Trent Grisham out there in center field, he'd bat first. Aaron Judge in right field batting second. Cody Bellinger in left field bats third. Ben Rice, the first baseman, batting fourth. Giancarlo Stanton, the DH, bats fifth. Jazz Chisholm Jr. at second base bats sixth. Ryan McMahon, the third baseman, batting seventh. Jose Caballero listed as the shortstop, batting eighth. And then Austin Wells catching, batting ninth. The bench sees J.C. Escara, Paul Goldschmidt, Ahmed Rosario, and right now it's listed as Randall Grichuk as the non-roster invitee guy who would join the 40-man roster and join the Major League roster, according to Fangraphs. The bullpen's got some notable names as well, including David Bednar and Camilo Doval, two guys that the Yankees picked up at the deadline last year. They're still around, as well as Fernando Cruz, Tim Hill, Jake Bird, who's also picked up at the deadline, Paul Blackburn, and Ryan Yarbrough. The IL is where it gets a little interesting for the Yankees. Garrett Cole, the big bad ace of that staff, normally has no timetable for his return, but expect him towards the All-Star break probably. Oswaldo Cabrera, he's questionable for opening day. Anthony Volpe is questionable for opening day, as is Carlos Rodon. Of course, these guys most likely will not be ready for opening day, but hasn't been announced yet. Clark Schmidt has no timetable. He's returning from Tommy John. He is on the 60-day IL, so we won't be seeing him until later in the year as well. In terms of the 2027 free agency class from New York, Trent Grisham, that one-year deal, he'd be back on the market, as well as Paul Goldschmidt, as well as Tim Hill and Ryan Yarbrough and Ahmed Rosario and Paul Blackburn. A lot of one-year deals the Yankees gave out this year. They'd also have to see Jazz Chisholm Jr. and David Bednar enter the free agency class as well. So some big names there from the Yankees for 2027 as they gear up for 2026, of course. So that is what the Yankees are looking like here. As we continue on, we've got the Boston Red Sox. Yes, sir. The Red Sox finished 89 and 73 last year. They were 7th in runs. They were 12th in starter ERA and 2nd in relief ERA. They were also 1st in home runs per 9 allowed from the relief staff. They finished 5 games back of the division and had a 2-game lead on the wild card line. They finished as the 5 seed and played the New York Yankees in the wild card, where they lost in 3 games. They lost that series 2-1 to the Yankees. Very unfortunate end to the Red Sox year. As we say hello to the manager, it is Alex Cora entering his 8th year as a member of the Boston Red Sox. Of course, had that 1 year off during his suspension, but will be back for his 8th year as a Red Sox. The question is, who did the Red Sox lose? And the answer is a butt-fuck ton of guys. Steven Matz, Rob Refsnyder, Dustin May, Vaughn Grisham, Jock Nixon Garcia, the password, Brennan Bernardino, Jordan Hicks, Kyle Harrison, David Hamilton, Liam Hendricks, Nathaniel Lau, Lucas Giolito, Justin Wilson, and of course, Alex Bregman. Oh my God, lots of names there. The Red Sox, they were big members, part of the trading teams in the offseason, one of the teams that made plenty of different trades to bring in plenty of different guys, which brings us to who they are adding. They picked up Wilson Contreras and Sonny Gray from trades with the Cardinals. They picked up Ranger Suarez from the market. Johan Oviedo was a trade with the Pirates. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. And they also picked up Caleb Durbin and Andrew Monasterio from a trade with the Brewers. That's 4 trades that the Red Sox did make. Contreras, Gray, Oviedo, and then Durbin and Monasterio together. They overhauled their pitching, and I gotta say, it looks good. Garrett Crochet, the ace of the staff, he's the number 1. He's going to be looking for a Cy Young this year. Ranger Suarez as the 2, Sonny Gray as the 3. That's a really strong top 3 rotation. That's probably one of my favorite top 3 rotations entering 2026. They also have Johan Oviedo, who's listed as the 4 guy, and then Brian Bayo, who is listed at 5. Scratch that. Bayo's listed at 4, and Johan Oviedo is listed at the 5, which brings us to the Red Sox lineup. Roman Anthony, boy, Does this kid have a ceiling? He is a very hyped player for 2026, and I'm on board with it. He's the left fielder batting first. Trevor Story, the shortstop, bats second. Jarren Duran at DH batting third. Wilson Contreras, first baseman, bats fourth. Wilyer Abreu in right field batting fifth. Caleb Durbin, the new third baseman, bats sixth. Cedane Rafaela in center field, batting seventh. Marcelo Mayer, listed as second baseman, bats eighth. And then Carlos Narvaez, listed as the catcher, batting ninth. The bench for the Red Sox: Connor Wong, backup catcher; Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Andrew Monasterio, and of course Masataka Yoshida. He's still around for Boston as well. The bullpen, as we mentioned, they were second in relief ERA last year, and part of the reason why is because of Aroldis Chapman turned back the clock. He was sensational last year. He's still around in the bullpen, as well as guys like Garrett Whitlock, Justin Slatton, and Zach Kelly. Just some notable names there. In terms of the IL, Patrick Sandoval, we haven't seen this guy pitch in a long time. He is questionable for opening day, as is Tristan Casas, as is Cutter Crawford, as is Rami Gonzalez. All these guys questionable, but most likely will not be ready for opening day. And then Tanner Huck, has no timetable for him. He's on the 60-day IL with Tommy John, so we won't be seeing him till later in this year, if at all. So that is what the IL says for Boston. And when we look ahead into 2027, who are the free agents that Boston possesses? Patrick Sandoval, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. They have Sonny Gray on a $30 million mutual option. Not sure about that. Garrett Whitlock has an $8.25 million club option. I think the Red Sox might pick that up. And then Aroldis Chapman has a $13 million vesting option. If he passes 40+ innings pitched this year, as well as a physical, he will make $13 million and he will stay. If he does not make 40 innings, the Red Sox can still use a club option to keep him for that $13 million, or he would be a free agent if they decline that. That is the Boston Red Sox entering this year. We move on to the Tampa Bay Rays, who finished fourth in the division. They were 77 and 85. They were 15th in runs, 15th in starter ERA, 12th in relief ERA. They were first in stolen bases. The Rays like to steal some bases. They have some fast guys. They finished 17 games back of the division and 10 games back of the last wild card spot. The manager that leads this Rays team back to Tropicana Field. That's right, they'll be back in Tropicana this year. It's Kevin Cash, of course. He is in his 12th year as a manager for the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays lost out on a couple guys. Like Boston, they were pretty trade heavy. They lost Adrian Hauser, Pete Fairbanks, Christopher Morel. Those three guys were from the market. But Josh Lowe was traded. Brandon Lau was traded. Shane Baz, Jake Mangum, and Mason Montgomery. A few years ago, the Rays had Brandon Lau, Josh Lowe, and Nathaniel Lowe all on the team. For the first time since then, they have none. No more Nathaniel, no more Josh, and no more Brandon. They get rid of all the Lows and Lows. Who they bring in to replace some of those guys? Gavin Lux will be the new second baseman there for Tampa. Cedric Mullins, Jake Fraley. How about Justin Henry Malloy coming over there? Steven Matz and Steven Wilson. They got a double Stevens there. Ben Williamson as well as Nick Martinez. So this Rays team, I'll tell you what, when you look at it on paper, it's scrappy. And when you mix that with Rays Devil Magic, this team is scary. This team is scary good. The rotation as it sits: Drew Rasmussen listed as the ace with Ryan Pepio as coming in the number 2. Shane McClanahan is listed as a guy on the roster right now, not on the IL. He hasn't pitched in a long time in the majors. He's listed as the 3. Nick Martinez, the 4, and Steven Matz as the 5. The lineup as it sits on Fangraphs is Gavin Lux playing second base, bats first. Yandy Diaz, the DH, batting second. I would say he bats first. That's why I almost hesitated saying Yandy Diaz batting first. He's listed batting second. Jonathan Aranda, coming off a great year. He's the first baseman that bats third. Junior Caminero, coming off an even better year. The third baseman listed as the 4-hole hitter. Cedric Mullins, center fielder, batting fifth. Jake Fraley out there in right field bats 6th. Taylor Walls, shortstop, batting 7th. Chandler Simpson, left fielder with all the speed in the world, batting 8th. And then Nick Fortes, the catcher, that's 9th. On the bench, you got Hunter Fiducia, Ben Williamson, Johnny DeLuca, and Justin Henry Malloy. That is what the Rays lineup and bench looks like. Into their bullpen we go, where there's always guys to know, including Edwin Ucita, Griffin Jax, who they picked up off the Twins deadline last year, Garrett Clevenger, Brian Baker, Mason Englert. The list will go on and on. The Rays will always have some guy coming out of the bullpen who just has a way of shutting out other teams there. On the IL, there's only a couple names here. Steven Wilson, he's questionable for opening day. And then Manuel Rodriguez, he was placed on the 60-day IL. He's questionable for the season. Might not make an appearance in 2026. Fast forward to 2027, the free agents that the Rays will have: Jake Fraley, Gavin Lux, Nick Martinez is on a $20 million mutual option, so he might still be around. Cedric Mullins on a $10 million mutual option, depending on how he does. Yandy Diaz, a $10 million club option. I think the Rays might pick that up. Drew Rasmussen on an $8 million club option. The Rays, I see, definitely picking that one up. And then Taylor Walls, he has a $3 million club option, but he would still be in team control. Even if the Rays decline that club option, he would still have to go through his third and final year of arbitration with the Rays and maybe end up with less money than that $3 million. We'll have to see. He might end up being traded, knowing the Rays' MO. Moving on here, we have the final team. Yes, that is right. We're talking about the final team of the AL East, and it is the Baltimore Orioles, who come in 75-87. It was a very unexpected down year. They fired their manager mid-season. It was a tough one for Baltimore fans after, 100-win seasons and back-to-back playoff appearances. From going from 100-loss seasons to having that, to then finding themselves 5th in a tough division. They were 24th in runs scored, 24th in starter ERA, and 25th in relief ERA. They finished 19 games behind the Blue Jays for the division, and they finished 12 games back of the final wildcard spot, 2 games worse than the Rays. Their manager this year, new guy, Anthony Villa. He'll be entering his first year as manager for Baltimore, his first year as manager overall. He's going to be 32 years old this year, going for a young manager to see what he can do for this Baltimore team. Who they lost, they made a couple trades, lost a couple guys. Grayson Rodriguez, no longer there. Jorge Mateo, Alex Jackson, Cade Stroud, Gary Sanchez, Tomoyuki Sugano, Sionel Perez, and Dylan Carlson all make their departures from Baltimore this year. Who they bring in, one of the first moves of the offseason, they traded Grayson Rodriguez for Taylor Ward. He's coming over. Ryan Helsley is signed for the bullpen. Pete Alonso, the polar bear, the big signing for Baltimore this offseason. He's there. Shane Baz was acquired via trade. Andrew Kittredge, Leody Tavares, Weston Wilson, Blaze Alexander, as well as Chris Bassett, all new members of Baltimore. They also brought back Zach Eflin and Albert Suarez on a minor league deal for Suarez there. The rotation, as it sits on Fangraphs, they have it listed as a 6-man rotation featuring Trevor Rogers, Kyle Bradish, Chris Bassett, Shane Baz, Zach Eflin, and Dean Creamer are all listed as a member of the Baltimore rotation. Not sure how that will look entering the year, if they're all ready to go, etc. The lineup for Baltimore, this is what can impress you. Gunnar Henderson leads things off. He's the shortstop, bats 1. Taylor Ward in left field, bats 2nd. Pete Alonso, the first baseman, batting 3rd. Adley Rutschman, listed as the 4-hole catcher. He's got the microscope on him this year. Dylan Beavers, a fun little rookie guy, right fielder, bats 5th. Colton Cowser, move out the way, center fielder, batting 6th. Blaze Alexander, listed at the second baseman, bats 7th. Samuel Basayo, the new kid on the block, the DH, batting 8th. And then Kobe Mayo, the third baseman, rounds up the starting 9, batting 9th. On the bench, you will see Ryan Mountcastle, you will see Jeremiah Jackson, you will see Tyler O'Neill, and Leody Tavares makes up the 4 bench spots there. For the bullpen, of course, new closer Ryan Helsley will be back there, as well as Andrew Kittredge, Keegan Aiken, Yanier Cano, Taylor Wells, Dietrich Ennis as well back there. So the bullpen is loaded, hopefully with guys who can have some bounce back years. Some of those guys a little bit tougher 2025, but then again, Baltimore wasn't that good of a team. On the IL, Jordan Westberg, the usual third baseman, he will be out till at least May. Jackson Holliday, the usual second baseman, out till at least mid-April. And then Felix Bautista, of course, still dealing with his issues. He is questionable for the season as well. Boy, would they love to have him back there. I would love to see him pitch. Remember how good he was? What was it, 2022, 2023? He was filthy, but he's been dealing with injuries ever since. That is the IL for Baltimore. And when you look ahead into 2027, the free agency class, Chris Bassett, Andrew Kittredge, Taylor Ward, Trevor Rogers, Keegan Aiken are all free agents. Ryan Helsley has a $14 million player option. Zach Eflin has a $25 million mutual option. Ryan Mountcastle has a $7.5 million club option. And then Dietrich Ennis, the bullpen member there, $3.5 million club option. That is your Baltimore O's. And that brings us to the outlook of the AL East. Where do we want to start here? How about the champion Toronto Blue Jays? They went from 5th in 2024 to 1st in 2025. Again, made it to the World Series. And you got to say, a lot of people are counting them out just a little bit because of how many career years they had. Springer being one of the most notable members. His 2024 year, it looked like it was the start of the big decline, the end of the aging veteran. He turned it around. New hitting coach for the Blue Jays, David Popkins, helped him fix his swing. He popped off and was the best player on the Blue Jays during the regular season last year. Of course, had that clutch ALCS home run as well. A big thing is Bo Bichette not being there as well. Vlad, it's interesting dynamic for him. I mean, they've been playing baseball together in the Jays farm system since they were, 17, 18 years old. So it's the first time since 2017, 2018, that they're not playing baseball together. It's a different year for Vladdy, but he's taking more of a leadership role after an insane postseason. There are so many talented players here. And the Blue Jays' whole MO was put the ball in play, good things will happen, you don't strike out, and that's what led them to the World Series. As I mentioned, they were first in batting average, first in on-base percentage, and third in OPS, and they did so without even being top 10 in home runs. That's the incredible stuff that this Jays team can do. And yes, you had some insane stats from a guy like Addison Barger, a guy like Nathan Lucas, who was a journeyman. He's in his 30s, and he got his first full year he was still platoonish, but when he was on the field, he was contributing in big ways. The question is, can that continue into 2026? And that's what people will count out the Jays for. But guess what? Every team will have that 2 or 3 guys. It's like, wow, you had a career year, an outstanding year that you've never had before. Can you do it again? That will be the question. Can Springer, who's going to be 36, 37 years old, he's entering his final year on this contract. Is he going to have 2024 Springer? Or are we going to have 2025 Springer? That's going to be a big tell in how good these Blue Jays will be. The lineup doesn't concern me too much. I trust all of these guys. Dalton Varsho, he was hurt a lot last year, but when he was healthy, he was absolutely insane when he was healthy. Stealing bases, I think if he was healthy the full season, he was on pace to hit 40, 50 home runs, which was out of the norm for Varsho even. A guy like Barger in his second year, what kind of adjustments, or in his second full season, of course, he had some time in 2024 as well, but what kind of adjustments will teams make against Barger, and how will he remake those adjustments? That will be a question. The rotation is what's very exciting because, as we mentioned, according to Fangraphs, they've got Kevin Gausman, they've got Dylan Cease, Savage, Barrios, and Ponce. That's 5. but they also have Bieber, who starts the year on the IL. They'll have Scherzer, who maybe won't be there at the start as well. They also have Eric Lauer, who's going to be coming out of the bullpen, but he can also go 5, 6 innings. So, I mean, the Jays have 8 starters. When you add those guys, when you add Scherzer, Bieber, and Lauer, technically, who's listed as a bullpen piece, you've got 8 guys. The Blue Jays have insane depth right now. And it's going to be a really interesting year for Toronto to see if they can defend the AL East division, if they can defend the AL as a whole. They were the #1 team in the regular season, and they made it to the World Series to try to take down those Dodgers. Of course, the Yankees were a big team that were trying to stop them. The Yankees were kind of leading the AL East all the way throughout the first half of the season, up until July. They entered a season series with the Blue Jays. It was a 4-game series throughout Canada Day, and they had a 3-game lead over the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays swept the Yankees in that series. They won all 4 games. They went from 3 games back to leading the Yankees by 1, and they took off from that point. That they did not suffer the lead at all from that point in the season. The Yankees were trying, though, and again, they finished the season hotter than any team. They were on an 8-game winning streak. If the Jays had just lost one more game, they would have been the 1 seed. They would have been the best team in the AL, and they would have won the division. And I gotta say, I think Boston and Baltimore and the Blue Jays, I think with the moves they made in the offseason, they all got better. The Yankees, who they bring back all of their guys. They bring back Grisham and Goldschmidt and all these other players and Bellinger. They only bring in Ryan Weathers, who's new. And I don't know how much of an impact that will have for the Yankees. It's still a great team. We know it's a great team. But again, Boston got better. Baltimore got better. The Blue Jays got better. The Rays got peskier. I mean, like, when we talk about the Rays, this team has these names that are just like, they're going to cause you problems. And honestly, if Drew Rasmussen, if Shane McClanahan, if Steven Matz, Nick Martinez, if the pitching can pitch the top of their abilities, the Rays could even be fighting for a playoff spot this year. I mean, that's how pesky this Rays team could be. This is giving an absolute dogfight of a division. You look at Boston, for example. I mean, I got gripes with Boston just for how they handled their third base situation. I mean, we go back 365 days ago. We go back a year ago. They have 2 all-star third basemen. That is a great problem to have. They end up trading away Devers, and then now they've lost Bregman in the free agency. They have Caleb Durbin listed at the third baseman, and no disrespect to Durbin, because he had a fantastic rookie season last year with the Brewers, finishing 3rd in Rookie of the Year. But if you ask me right now, pick a third baseman, Devers, Bregman, and Durbin, I would not be picking Durbin. I would pick Bregman. I would pick Devers. And the fact that the Red Sox traded away Devers because they wanted to make Bregman their guy, and he ends up going away because you wouldn't change your policy of a no-trade clause because, sorry, Bregman's a family man. He wants to make sure that you won't try to trade him. And by the way, you know, if you're like, oh, why would he trade Bregman? Why would they trade Bregman? Why would they trade a franchise guy? Because they just showed that they would do that season by trading away Devers, because you told him to play DH because you signed Bregman, and then you told him to play first base. You guys weren't transparent with him. He was giving you issues, so you traded him. I think the way the Red Sox handled last season was a joke. I think what they did this offseason, you know, on the lineup side of things, I have issues. But for the pitching, like I said, bringing in Ranger Suarez, who has a postseason history of dominating. You bring in Sonny Gray, who has fantastic years with the Reds, with the Twins, with the A's. Like, he is a great pitcher to have. And like I said, Garrett Crochet, he's going to want a Cy Young this year. That's an elite 1, 2, 3 at the top of the rotation, with Chapman in the back end, with Roman Anthony, if he can be the Roman Anthony that everyone is saying, and who I'm hoping for. I mean, I've got high hopes for Roman Anthony, just like everyone else. Jarren Duran, Trevor Story. I mean, there's a lot to be happy with here from Boston's perspective. And yeah, 89 wins. They were, 2 games, 5-game difference between them and the Blue Jays and Yankees. Like, that's the difference right now, is 5 games between these 3 teams. And right now, like I said, Jays got better, Red Sox got better, Baltimore got better, who we haven't even talked about yet. Yankees say the same, but again, like this is an absolute dogfight in a division. If you told me right now to make a prediction of like 1 through 5, which we will be doing in a little bit here, um, you could pick any one of these in the hat and it would be somewhat correct. If I put all 5 of these teams into a hat and picked one at random and that would be my order, that could be the case. It could be Boston, Baltimore, Blue Jays, Yankees, Rays. It could be Blue Jays, Rays, Baltimore, Red Sox, Yankees. It could be Rays, Red Sox, Yankees, Baltimore Blue Jays. Like it can be any combination. And like, yes, that's the whole point of a baseball season. That's why we watch sports, because there is that uncertainty and you never know. But like, you can go through a division. The Dodgers are not going to come last in the division. There's no way the Rockies have a better season than the Dodgers. There's no way the Nationals will have a better season than the Phillies. There's no way the Cardinals will have a better season than the Cubs. You can do this for every team in every division. There are those teams, the Rockies, the Cardinals, the Nationals, the Angels, the White Sox, the Twins. Like those teams will not win a division. You can't say that for the Tampa Bay Rays. You can't say that for Baltimore. You have a team here where if you have one or two major injuries, like that derails your season, especially in how competitive the AL East division will be this year. This is as competitive as we've seen it since what, 21, 22. And by the way, the Jays that year, they finished 4th in the division. They were a 90-win team, and they didn't make the wild card. That was the last time we didn't have 3 teams in the wild card. They were a 90-win team and did not make the playoffs because the other 3 teams ahead of them were also 90-plus win teams, and there was only 2 wild card spots. Just to show you that year as well, that the other teams that were 4th in the division had about 75, 76 wins on average, and the Blue Jays had 90. That's the competitiveness that we're going to have in the AL East this year. I have not talked really much about Baltimore, who had the sky-high expectations. They were one of the top teams picked to win the AL East last year, and everything went awry from them. They lost Corbin Burnes in the free agency, and the big, point at them and say, this is the problem, was their starting pitching. Baltimore's lineup was always very good. And yes, there was down years from Gunnar, down years from Adley. Like a lot of players didn't have the years that we thought, but the pitching we knew entering the season was the problem, and they didn't really address it. And I gotta say, this year, I liked their offseason, but they also still didn't really address the pitching. That was the problem. Like Taylor Ward is a great bat. Pete Alonso, he is a great bat to have. Ryan Helsley, yeah, that kind of shores up your bullpen a little bit, even though he had a down year last year. But you bring in Chris Bassett and Shane Baz, 2 guys from your division. The Chris Bassett coming over from the Blue Jays, Shane Baz coming over from the Rays. And also that Bassett signing happened recently. Like, these are 2 guys who, like, there were other rotation pieces. You needed a Corbin Burnes type of ace. I'm not saying go trade for him like you did with Corbin Burnes, but like there was options for you. And right now, it's a 6-man rotation they have listed with Rogers, Bradish, Bassett, Baz, Eflin, and Creamer. Rogers, hey, listen, he had an insane second half of the season. I mean, he had the lowest ERA. He wasn't qualified because he missed, the first half of the season, but he was so good. Is that really, repeatable? Like, is he going to come out here and shove that good again? If he's doing that, then, I mean, he's now your ace. And, hey, you know what, Baltimore? Now there's not a problem. And guess what? Go win your division because you have talented players like Gunnar, like Ward, like Pete Alonso. It's very interesting what Baltimore could do. They are definitely the highest... they've got the largest window. They can easily win a division, but they can also be 5th again and be like 5-10 games back of the Rays for 4th, let's say, or whoever comes 4th. Like, that is a massive gap for Baltimore, and it depends on some of these young kids, and it depends on the pitching. Like, that is going to be Baltimore's, big, magnifying glass. Let's look at the pitching. The other magnifying glass comes in for Adley Rutschman. I mean, he had a really tough year. He really hasn't been the same since his second year in the big leagues. And now, last year they brought up Samuel Bassell for the first time, who is a catcher. He was listed as the DH. I mean, you might see Adley get some DH when he catches sometimes. But I mean, for Adley, this is a big year. I mean, he might get traded at the deadline or something. Like, he needs to kind of figure out his offensive abilities. Defense, no worries, no issue. But the offense is what really needs to be looked at a little bit here. Because of the Westberg and Holiday injuries, Baltimore has a chance to see what they get out of Blaze Alexander and Kobe Mayo, who are listed as that current second and third baseman according to Fangraphs. And I mean, they have a month basically to kind of show up a little bit, because yes, if Blaze Alexander is playing very well, when Holiday comes back, it's like, okay, what do we do now? Do we put Blaze Alexander to third? Do we move Gunnar to third? Like, there will be questions for Baltimore here. It's kind of the double-edged sword of having an injury, because you could have Kobe Mayo finally tap into that potential that we saw so many years ago. We could see that same thing for Blaze Alexander, who they traded for. So like there's big questions here for Baltimore. Again, I like their offseason. I like a lot of the offseasons here from the AL East, besides the Yankees, really. I mean, yes, good that you kept everybody, but Ryan Weathers is being the only new guy. I mean, you had to bring someone else in, hopefully. I mean, the Blue Jays, they get Cease, who they got very early at the deadline. Some people were saying overpay. I'm saying, hey, if you know who you want, go get your guy. They did that. Kazuma Okamoto, in the few spring training games he's seen him in, he looks really fun. I'm very excited to watch him play this year. Boston, like I said, with Sonny Gray and Ranger Suarez, there's a lot to like in this division. Even the Rays, man. Like, yes, Gavin Lux can be that guy. I'm quite sad that they traded away Brandon Lau. He was one of my favorite players, specifically on the Rays team. I was even trying to get one of his jerseys in the City Connect this year, but he's no longer there. I mean, this is going to be a great division, man. This is going to be the big battle. Call me crazy if all 5 of these teams finish with 90 wins. Like, that's how competitive this can be. I think the last team, whoever finishes 5th in this division, they're going to be above 500 still. They'll finish like 83 and 81. Like, that's what we're talking about here. That's the difference, and that's how crazy this division is going to be here. If I take a look at a prediction here for who I think is going to win the division, I am going to say the Toronto Blue Jays. I believe in what they did last year. I think what they, contact first, put the ball in play, don't strike out. We saw it work very well. They have this plethora of pitching and pitching options. What you saw from Trey Savage in the postseason last year, you put that. I mean, he could easily win the Rookie of the Year this year. There is so much to like about Toronto. They're just so revamped from what they did in 2024. And yes, this season could go awry for them again. Down years for Springer and Barger, etc. Injuries, maybe that Bo Bichette hole is bigger than we originally thought. Things can go wrong, but right now, on paper, I love this Blue Jays team. I think it's a very strong team. I'm going to put them first. When it comes to second, you get this mix of all these guys that really could win. Any one of these teams can do it. I'm going to say the Rays will finish 5th. I believe in the Devil Magic, but I generally think these other 3 teams have what it takes to kind of finish above Tampa, but they will be sneaky good. Watch out for the Rays. I think Baltimore, I don't know if I believe in the Trevor Rogers if he can continue that sub-2 ERA pace that he had at the second half of the season. I believe in Boston, man. I think Roman Anthony is going to be him. I like Sonny Gray. I like Ranger Suarez. My AL East predictions, Toronto Blue Jays 1, Boston Red Sox 2, New York Yankees 3, Baltimore Orioles 4, Tampa Bay Rays 5. That is my official predictions for the division. That brings us to the overs and the unders according to FanDuel. What we have right now, the Blue Jays are listed at 88.5 or 88.5 games. I'm going to take the over on the Blue Jays. The Yankees are listed at 90.5. That is a little bit high. I know they finished with 94. I know they brought their whole team back. But if I'm saying that I think the Yankees will finish third, I'm going to take the under on the Yankees. I think they win 90 games exactly. I think they're 90 and 72. I think that's fair. The Red Sox, they're over under 87.5. I'm going to take the over. I think Garrett Crochet is going to have a fantastic year. I think Sonny Gray and Ranger Suarez and Trevor Story. I like Boston. I like their players. Give me the over there. The Rays at 76.5. That is too low for how sneaky good this team is. Give me the over on the Tampa Bay Rays. Baltimore at 85.5. I think this is very close. Like I said, I think Baltimore can win 92, 93 games. I could also see them winning 74 games if things go really wrong for Baltimore. I'm going to take the under on Baltimore. So Blue Jays get the over, Yankees an under, Red Sox an over, Rays an over, Baltimore an under. That, ladies and gentlemen, is our first DOP. Boy, that took a lot out of me and my voice. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts. What do you agree on with what I said? What do you disagree on with what I said? I want to know what you guys think. Who do you think is going to take the AL East? The Blue Jays, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Rays, or the Orioles? All five will be good teams. Watch out for those sneaky Rays, man. I promise you those Rays are going to be a problem for some of these teams in this division. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our first DOPs. I appreciate you guys listening to me. Stay tuned for more DOPs, all five of them, the rest of the five, coming out this week. We have one more. If you're hearing this when it comes out live, the next one's like a few hours away, 2-3 hours away probably. We have two on the Monday, which is today, if you're hearing this. Then we have one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday, and then two more on Thursday. So stay tuned for all of those. Enjoy the DOPs. Let me know your thoughts. This is a lot of talking, and I don't know how to end this. Thank you, everybody, so much for the first DOP.